Welcome everyone. Welcome to our press conference this year. We are so excited to have you here. We are ready for the National Collegiate Women's Wrestling Championships, the annual national tournament for NCAA women's wrestling teams. This year we're pleased to bring this exciting competition to Extreme Arena right here in Coralville, which will be a marvelous showcase for our nation's best women's college student athletes. This will be a historic competition because it will be the last time that a coalition of wrestling organizations will be running this tournament on behalf of NCAA women wrestlers. On January 17th of this year, the NCAA announced that women's wrestling had been approved as its 91st national championships. This will be its first official tournament setting in 2026. The wrestling community and the women's sports community is extremely excited about this. So this weekend will be a great celebration for all of us involved in the sport. The tournament has a record number of entries this year with 320 athletes across the nation competing here. 32 best athletes in each weight class will be battling for national titles and All-American honors. Athletes qualified through 8 different regional events this year to make it to Coralville. The University of Iowa is the defending team champions. Before we start our formal program, I would like to invite Mr. Josh Schomburger, the president of Think Iowa City and the Iowa City Area Sports Commission, to welcome the women's college wrestling community to Wrestletown, USA this week.
Thank you, Dort. Certainly, we don't need to applaud, Jackie. It's just me. You can call for these athletes up here. Certainly want to welcome everyone to Coralville and Iowa City. We're super honored to have the opportunity to host this event. We're pretty proud of the support that the Sports Commission and our team here, Kylie, and Luke, have provided and given to girls and women's wrestling over the past decade. We are the team that sanctioned girls state wrestling right here on this floor just a few years ago. We are also the team that created the very first inaugural combined women's and men's World Cup here in 2022 here in Extreme Arena. So super honored to welcome our college athletes, and if there's anything we can do, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and you'll see us around all weekend. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Josh. All right, for the first half of our press conference, as you can see, to my left, your right, we have 5 talented student athletes here. They are competing this weekend. And I will just turn my whole body. This is a debacle. Okay, so they're competing this weekend. They're all competing for national champions this weekend, not only representing themselves but their teams. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask each one of them a question. They'll answer that question. We'll move down the line, and then we will open it up to you, our wonderful media that is here today. And you'll be able to ask questions from your seats or from wherever you are. And then upon completion of those questions, we'll then give you a little one-on-one time with the athletes where they can step down and talk to you one-on-one. Then we will do the same thing by bringing up some of our coaches in a little bit and do the same thing. So to start out though, we're going to start out with these 5 athletes next to me. First off, on my left, we will go my left all the way down to the end. We have Macey Kilty, representing the University of Iowa. She's a graduate student from Stratford, Wisconsin, and she's competing at 145 pounds. Macey's competing in her first NCWWC and is seated number 1 at 145 pounds. She is a 2-time senior world medalist for Team USA. I'll do your intros first, then we'll do questions. You can clap if you want, it's fine. Then we have Aine Drury from King University. Aine is a senior from Westminster, California. She's competing at 145 pounds. She was a runner-up last year and is seated number 4 in the weight class this year. Previously, she was a 3C 2A champion at Cerritos College and a 2024 U23 Pan American champion for Team USA. Next up, fist bump, I saw it. Next up, we got Amani Jones from North Central College. She's a senior from McDonough, Georgia, competing at 124 pounds. She was a 2024 champion here last year, a 3-time All-American, and is seated number 1 at her weight class this year. Amani is a 2-time age group world medalist for Team USA as well. Next to Amani, we have Alex Szkotnicki from McKendree. Alex is a sophomore from, Alex, is it Riva or Riva? Riva, I thought it was. I was going to ask you before we started and I didn't get a chance. My bad. From Riva, Maryland, she's competing at 131 pounds. She's seated number 3 at her weight class this year. She is a 2-time age group Pan American champion for Team USA. And on the end, we have Olivia Shore from Otterbein. She's a senior from St. Paris, Ohio, competing at 103 pounds. She was an NCWWC national champion back in 2022, where she competed for Tiffin University. She's seated number 4 in her weight class, and Olivia made 2 age group world teams for Team USA. So lots of collegiate experience at these tables, lots of USA wrestling experience at these tables. So let's give our 5 athletes a round of applause before we get started. All right, up first, Macey. Hey. You came to Iowa from North Carolina, where you were training originally. This is your first season on a women's college team and being with the Iowa program. So what's it been like for you this first year at Iowa? How's your training different? How are things different? And what's it feel like to be part of this women's wrestling team, since you haven't really had that experience yet?
Yeah, I'd say it's something I've kind of overlooked in my wrestling career. I've never been a part of an all-girls wrestling team, and I think that's something that's truly really special, especially with how women's wrestling is growing and everything. And I think it was something I was really missing in my wrestling. You know, I felt like my identity was in wrestling before almost coming into this program, and now it's more than wrestling. I'm going to school, I'm meeting really cool people, outside of wrestling, and I'm just truly grateful to be a part of this program this year and have this 1 year to wrestle collegiately.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're here. Anya, hey. Hey, as a returning finalist, how do you feel like that experience from last year's tournament up in Cedar Rapids, how does that translate to this year? And what changes have you made, and what areas do you feel like your wrestling has really improved from last year to this year?
Last year, I kind of have some trouble with some stage fright usually, like spotlights and cameras kind of get to me a little bit. But this year, we lost our head coach, and that really made me pay attention to like how I wrestle and what is good about me, and I have to like really pay attention to what makes me good. So I think I've done a good job of like gaining confidence in myself, and I've also had like the wonderful guidance of Gracie, who is a good competitor herself. So she's helped me a lot with like my mental game. So I feel pretty prepared this year.
Awesome. Well, welcome back. We're glad you're here. Amani Jones. Amani, you have been a big part of wrestling for a long time, and you've been part of a program that's a powerhouse, perennial powerhouse in women's wrestling. So what is it about North Central? Why is that the right place for you? What makes it so special? What about that environment brings that team together and really helps drive that championship culture?
Yeah, I think a big thing is our culture as a team. I think Joe has done a really good job of like...
Is that on? Can you hold it closer? Oh, it is on.
Okay, now you can. But culture, I think he's done a really good job of making sure if our team is going down and we're not getting along, he brings us together and makes us come together. I think we're all really tight. We are very competitive, like just in games, in everything in life. And I think the competitive nature makes us closer. And that's why we're so good and so close to each other, I would say.
It's good stuff. I guess I'll stay up now. Alex. So McKendree, you're coming off a super strong performance in Region 6, right? And what goals do you have for yourself? What team goals do you all have coming into this weekend? Do you have specific goals other than, obviously, everyone's goal is to be a national champ or an All-American? Do you have some other specific goals coming into this weekend, and how's the team feeling after coming off that regional performance?
I think we're all feeling pretty good after coming off that regional win. And just the goal for everyone is just wrestle our best, wrestle the hardest, and just being able to just compete and go out there and wrestle hard.
Okay. Olivia, you are now a senior wrestling for the new program at Otterbein. What's different for you this year in comparison to 2022? How do you think you've grown since you won your first title? How's your wrestling changed? And what are you really looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, I would say being part of a new program is pretty awesome. I wanted to be close to home, I have a really big family and support system back home, and I just felt like that's what I needed to be the best version of myself. It's awesome to have girls on the team that, have my back no matter what. A coach that's willing to, take bullets for me and do whatever I need. I think it's really awesome, and I think that my mindset's changed a lot just because I've grown up not only as a wrestler but as a person. I've been out for 2 years on injury, so being able to sit back and kind of evaluate, what I need to do to become a better person and a better wrestler has, I've had enough time to do that, and I think I've never been happier mentally, and I've never been healthier physically, so I'm ready to get rolling.
Awesome. Well, welcome back. We're glad you're healthy and you're back. So let's give it up one more time for all these athletes. This is not, these athletes are used to going out and wrestling on the mat, not standing in front of lights and cameras and press conferences. So a little out of their comfort zone, but that's what they do. That's what wrestling is, right? So at this time, we're going to open up some questions to the media. So if you could raise your hand, identify yourself. You're going to need to be a little bit louder. If we need to come down with a handheld, we can. But if you could just project, we would appreciate that. Indicate which athlete you would like to answer the question, or if your question is for all student athletes. Does anybody have questions? Come on up.
John said these Cedar Rapids is at for Macey, working in the Iowa room with a reigning national champion in Greece. How has that really kind of pushed you and kind of what ways?
Yeah, I mean, it's different. We're both really competitive, and but I'd say I think it's something that's really special in our room. We have a lot of girls that we have a number 1 and a number 2 competing for a top spot. Like, we all want to win. So being able to go into the wrestling room though and push each other, go with each other, it's uncomfortable. But I think that's what brings out the best of us in competition. So I think that's really what's special about the Iowa wrestling room is we can do that. We can compete in the room, and once we're off, we're friends. So yeah.
We're going to steal this from Macey. Jackie's going to be our handheld carrier. So Macey and Aine will have to share a mic if we need it. So, all right, who wants to be next? Right here.
For Macey, where have you seen the most improvement in your game personally over the season?
Man, I think in a lot of ways, I think being able to juggle being a student athlete, that's been very different for me. Of course, my course load's a little lighter than most of my teammates, but just being able to kind of detach from the wrestling, go to school, and then come in the wrestling room and be totally focused on wrestling, I think it's actually really cool. But I think that's where I've seen my most growth is just being able to balance my life a little bit more than just being solely focused on wrestling. So.
Jake Olson, Daily Iowan. This is for all the athletes up there, but what's it like competing here and then knowing that this is the final year going into NCAAs next year, what's going to be a sanctioned event for all you guys? What's that feeling like knowing that the sport's moving forward in a constant direction?
Who wants to start that? Why don't we start down on the end? Olivia, take it away. We'll go reverse
I would
order.
say, it's really special. One of the reasons that I started wrestling, and I went through the whole boy phase of wrestling boys and stuff, was to make sure that the younger generation had what I didn't. So knowing that, girls after me get to have that official tournament and, that experience, it's going to be really cool to see, and I'm really honored to be a part of something before then and be a part of something after, so.
It's really cool to see how far the sport has come from just girls not, like there absolutely being no girls teams, just having to wrestle, being forced to wrestle with guys all the time, to being able to wrestle girls or guys, and now we got girls in college wrestling. Wrestling has been able to give scholarships to athletes who maybe otherwise would have been able to make it to college. And now it's going to be sanctioned NCAA next year. That is just so exciting, and it's so awesome to see how far the sport has come.
Yeah, I think it's really good for younger girls, and I'm happy I got to be a part of it. You know, I wish I was a little younger because it is my senior year, so I won't be able to compete in the next year. So that does suck, but I think it's really cool. I'm gonna see my teammates go chase a NCAA title instead of this title. So I think it's really cool, and it's just we're getting closer to being equal to the guys. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's super sick because there's a lot of like cool personalities and fun wrestling that happens on the girls team or girls teams. And the bigger platforms you give us, I think the more exciting wrestling and the more exciting personalities you'll get to see in women's wrestling.
Yeah, I think it's a blessing in disguise that I got to have this one opportunity this year to participate in something like this, because it is only growing and it's only going to get cooler for other girls coming up. I mean, we break down every day with For Her because it really is for her, the next generation. And yeah, I didn't have an opportunity like this coming out of high school, so for me it's kind of a backwards track that most people go on, but I'm glad I get this opportunity, and these girls will have an opportunity after me to do something bigger.
Great question. Who's next?
Tanner Lefevre with Hawkeye Report. This is for Amani. I was just curious, you've been at the level domestically, internationally for your age group for a long time, but going back to last year at the national tournament, you get your first title, including a come from behind win in the semifinals. Just how big was that for you mentally to push through at a big stage, and how have you felt that you've developed from that moment to this point?
Yeah, I think it was a huge moment for me to finally get that national title, and it does give me kind of a little bit of relaxation going into this year. Not as much pressure on me, and I just have a lot more confidence coming off of that. I'm not as anxious as I used to be, and I think I'm more excited to wrestle this tournament rather than last year. I was a lot more anxious and more nervous, and now I'm excited to actually put on a show and just be entertaining for the audience, I would say.
Any other questions before we break out? Oh, Gary Abbott, USA Wrestling.
This question's for Anya. A lot of these athletes went immediately to an NCAA school. You went to a junior college before you switched over and joined your program. Could you talk about that opportunity, which is also growing? The wrestling in college is not just the NCAA, but you were able to compete in the California Junior College and then get your opportunity at this level. What was that like for you?
Yeah, thank you for that, because I love talking about my junior college. I went to Cerritos College. It's free for California residents, so you get 2 years free. It's a really good opportunity because coming from a low income family or anything like that, going to NCAA right away might not be the financially best option for you. So if you get to go 2 years into JC and make a name for yourself, then you can go into a 4-year easier. And also the junior college scene is growing. We have some of the best coaches out there. We have Dustin Kirk, who's one of the best coaches ever. He coaches there. He developed me a bunch. So yeah, it's great. I loved it. I think it's a great experience, and I think more people should do it.
Ross Barczyk, I wrestle. This is for who's ever got the "You're a Dog" hat. I want to know about it. I didn't know which one of you.
Oh yeah, that's mine. My roommate Izzy got this for me. But it says "You're a dog" because JM, my coach, used to tell me that all the time. In my 30 seconds break, I tend to freak out a little bit. So he would just come at me, give me a handshake and be like, "You're a dog," and I'd be like, "You're right, I am a dog." So I like to remember that. So there's a picture of JM, and then Claire, she's back there, one of the best training partners I've had. So it's a good hat.
Carrie Wyman at Otterbein University. Olivia, you're at Nationals with first year program with 3 other girls representing not only your city but also Otterbein. How does it feel?
Yeah, I would say it feels good. Like I said, being able to be here and be here alongside of a couple of teammates is, a good experience, and something that, you know, I'll write down in the memory book, of course. But it feels good to represent a new program. And like I said, just growing the sport of wrestling has been one of the most important things in my life. So being able to go back to Ohio, where I was born and raised, and you know, I have a lot of history there, and to form a new program and be close to home and be able to represent a school like Otterbein, it's going to be fun, and I'm excited.
All right. Anybody else have questions before we break out into the one-on-ones?
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to introduce our moderator today, who didn't introduce herself. Dort Mayab, you'll hear on the mic all weekend. She is a voice of many wrestling tournaments, but you'll hear her throughout the weekend, but she's too humble to have introduced herself. So we'd really like to thank Dort for her work this weekend and today.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, so you would have about 20 minutes, about 19 minutes. If you want some one-on-one time with the athletes, you have that now. And then about 1:40, we'll start back up again. We'll switch out the athletes for the coaches. So about 20 minutes.